Hey friends, back again since Kaiser knocked over the computer. I'm sure you all got a great laugh out of that. But let's pick back up where we left off, okay? It says, "Are you ready for this test?" said Grover. I didn't answer. "You look awful," he frowned. "Is everything okay?" "Just tired." I turned so he couldn't read my expression and started getting ready for bed. I didn't understand what I'd heard downstairs. I wanted to believe I imagined the whole thing. But one thing was clear. Grover and Mr. Bruner were talking about me behind my back. They thought I was in some kind of danger. The next afternoon, as I was leaving the 3-hour Latin exam, my eyes swimming with all the Greek and Roman names that I misspelled, Mr. Bruner called me back inside. For a moment, I was worried he'd found out about my eavesdropping the night before, but that didn't seem to be the problem. "Percy," he said, "don't be discouraged about leaving Yancey. It's for the best." His tone was kind, but the words still embarrassed me. Even though he was speaking quietly, the other kids finishing the test could hear. Nancy Bobofit smirked at me and made a sarcastic little kissy motion with her lips. I mumbled, "Okay, sir." Mr. Bruner wheeled his chair back and forth like he wasn't sure what to say. "This isn't the right place for you. It was only a matter of time." My eyes stung. Here was my favorite teacher in front of the class telling me I couldn't handle it, after saying he believed in me all year. Now he was telling me I was destined to get kicked out. "Right," I said, trembling. "No, no," Mr. Bruner said. "Oh, confound it all. What I'm trying to say, you're not normal, Percy. That's nothing to be—" "Thanks," I blurted out. "Thanks a lot, sir, for reminding me." "Percy," but I was already gone. On the last day of term, I shoved my clothes into my suitcase. The other guys were joking around, talking about their vacation plans. One of them was going on a hiking trip to Switzerland, and another was cruising to the Caribbean for a month. They were juvenile delinquents like me, but they were rich juvenile delinquents. Their daddies were executives or ambassadors or celebrities, and I was nobody from a family of nobodies. They asked me what I'd be doing this summer when I told them going back to the city. What I didn't tell them was that I'd have to get a summer job walking dogs or selling magazine subscriptions and spend my free time worrying about where I'd go to school in the fall. "Oh," one of the guys said, "that's cool." They went back to their conversations as if I never existed. The only person I dreaded saying goodbye to was Grover, but as it turned out, I didn't have to. He'd booked a ticket to Manhattan on the same Greyhound as I had. So there we were, together again, headed into the city. During the whole bus ride, Grover kept glancing nervously down the aisle, watching other passengers. It occurred to me that he had always acted nervous and fidgety when we left Yancey, as if he expected something bad to happen. Before, I'd always assumed he was worried about getting teased, but there was nobody to tease him on the Greyhound. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore, and I said, "Looking for kindly ones?" Grover nearly jumped out of his seat. What do you mean?" I confessed about eavesdropping on him and Mr. Bruner the night before the exam. Grover's eye twitched. "How much did you hear?" "Oh, not much. What's the summer solstice deadline?" He winced. "Look, Percy, I was just worried, you see. I meant hallucinating about demon math teachers." "Grover?" "And I was telling Mr. Bruner that maybe you were overstressed or something because there was no such person as Mrs. Dodds." "Grover, you're a really, really bad liar." His ears turned pink. From his shirt pocket, he fished out a grubby business card. "Just take this, okay, in case you need me this summer." The card was in a fancy script, which was murder on my dyslexic eyes. But I finally made it out. Wow. I finally made out something like Grover Underwood, keeper, Half-Blood Hill, Long Island, New York. "What's half? Don't say it out loud," he yelped. That's my summer dress." My heart sank. Grover had a summer home. I never considered that his family might be as rich as the other kids at Yancey. "Okay," I said glumly. "So, like, if I want to come visit your mansion," he nodded, "or if you need me." "Why would I need you?" It came out harsher than I meant it to. Grover blushed, right down to his Adam's apple. "Look, Percy, the truth is, I kind of have to protect you." I stared at him. All year long, I'd gotten in fights, keeping bullies away from him. I'd lost sleep worrying he was getting beaten up. And I'm sorry. I lost sleep, worried he was getting beaten. He would get beaten up next year without me. And here he was acting like he was the one who was defending me. Grover, I said, what exactly are you protecting me from? There was a huge grinding noise under our feet. Black smoke poured in from the dash, and the whole bus filled with a rotten egg smell. The driver cursed and limped the Greyhound over to the side of the highway. After a few minutes clanking around the engine compartment, the driver announced that we'd all have to get off. Grover and I filed outside with everybody else. We were on a stretch of the country road, no place you would notice if you didn't break down there. With our side of the highway, there was nothing but maple trees and litter from passing cars. On the other side, across the 4 lanes of asphalt, shimmering in the afternoon heat, was an old-fashioned fruit stand. The stuff on sale looked pretty good. Heaping boxes of blood red cherries and apples, walnuts, apricots, jugs of cider, and a clawfoot tub full of ice. There were no customers, just 3 old ladies sitting in rocking chairs in the shade of a maple tree. They were knitting the biggest pair of socks I'd ever seen. I mean, those socks were the size of sweaters, but they were clearly socks. The lady on the right knitted one of them. The lady on the left knitted the other. The lady in the middle held an enormous basket of electric blue yarn. All 3 women looked ancient, with pale faces wrinkled like fruit leather, silver hair tied backs with white bandanas, bony arms sticking out of their bleached cotton dresses. The weirdest thing was they seemed to be looking right at me. I looked over at Grover to say something about this and saw the blood had drained from his face. His nose was twitching. Grover, I said, hey man, tell me they're not looking at you. They are, aren't they? Yeah, weird, huh? You think those socks would fit me? Not funny, Percy. Not funny at all. The old lady in the middle took out a huge pair of scissors, gold and silver, long blade like shears. I heard Grover catch his breath. We're getting on the bus, he told me. Come on. What? It's 1,000 degrees in there. Come on. He pried open the door and climbed inside, but I stayed back. Across the road, the old ladies were still watching me. The middle one cut the yarn, and I swear I could hear the snip across the 4 lanes of traffic. Her friends balled up the electric blue socks, leaving me wondering who could they possibly be for? Sasquatch or Godzilla? At the rear of the bus, the driver wrenched a big chunk of smoking metal out of the engine compartment. The bus shuddered, and the injured roared back to life. The passengers cheered. Darn right, yelled the driver. He slapped the bus with his hat. Everybody back on board. Once we got going, I started feeling feverish, kind of like I caught the flu. Grover didn't look much better. He was shivering with his teeth. He was shivering and his teeth were chattering. Grover? Yeah? What aren't you telling me? He dabbed his forehead with his shirt sleeve. Percy, what did you see back at the fruit stand? You mean the old ladies? What is it about them, man? They're not like Mrs. Dodds, are they? His expression was hard to read, but I got the feeling that the fruit stand ladies were something much, much worse than Mrs. Dodd. He said, just tell me what you saw. The middle one took out her scissors and she cut the yarn. He closed his eyes and made the gesture with his fingers that might have been crossing himself, but it wasn't. It was something else, something almost older. He said, you saw her snip the cord? Yeah, so? But even as I said it, I knew it was a big deal. This is not happening, Grover mumbled. He started chewing on his thumb. I don't want this to be like the last time. The last time? Always 6th grade. They never get past 6th. Grover said, because he was really starting to scare me. Grover, I said, because he was really starting to scare me. What are you talking about? Let me walk you home from the bus station. Promise me. This seemed like a strange request to me, but I promised him he could. Is this like superstition or something? I asked. No answer. Grover, that snipping of the yarn, does that mean somebody is going to die? He looked at me mournfully, like he was already picking the kind of flowers I'd like best on my coffin. Dun dun dun! Chapter 3 coming up next.